the rejection and awakening. The mate bond shatters. Arya's hands trembled as she carried the heavy tray of wine glasses through the crowded pack hall. Tonight was supposed to be different. Tonight, she'd finally turned 21, and the mate bond would fully activate. For weeks, she'd felt the pull toward someone. A magnetic force drawing her closer to a truth she'd dreamed about since childhood. But nothing prepared her for this. The moment Alpha Damien walked into the hall, every fiber of her being screamed, "Mate." The bond snapped into place like lightning striking her chest. Her wolf, usually quiet and dormant, howled with recognition and joy. This was it. This was everything she'd hoped for. The powerful, handsome Alpha was her destined mate. She watched him freeze mid-step. His gray eyes widened as he scanned the room, searching. Their gazes locked across the crowded space. He felt it too. Arya's heart soared. She set down the tray and started walking toward him, drawn by the invisible thread connecting their souls. Around them, pack members began to notice. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Is that Arya? The Omega? No way the Alpha is mated to her. She doesn't even have a wolf." Damien's expression shifted from shock to something else. Something cold. Horror? Disgust? Arya couldn't tell, but dread began pooling in her stomach. She stopped 3 feet away from him, hope and fear warring inside her. "Alpha Damien," she whispered. "Do you feel it?" His jaw clenched. The entire hall had gone silent now, hundreds of eyes watching this moment unfold. "I, Damien Blackthorn, Alpha of the Silvermoon Pack, reject you, Arya Winters, as my mate." The words hit like physical blows. Each syllable felt like a knife twisting in her chest. The mate bond, barely formed, began tearing apart. Pain unlike anything she'd ever experienced ripped through her body. She gasped, falling to her knees. "No," she choked out. "Please don't." "You're weak," Damien said, his voice carrying across the silent hall. "Wolfless, an Omega with nothing to offer this pack or me. I need a strong Luna, not a burden who can barely lift a tray without shaking." Laughter erupted around her. Cruel, mocking sounds that would haunt her dreams. "Accept the rejection," Damien commanded, his alpha voice making it impossible to resist. Through tears and agony, Arya whispered, I accept." The bond severed completely. She screamed as her heart felt like it was being ripped from her chest. Everything went dark. The humiliation. Arya woke in the pack hospital 3 days later. The healer, old Margaret, sat beside her bed with kind but pitying eyes. "Easy now, child. You've been through trauma. The bond breaking nearly killed you." Arya's hand went to her chest. The emptiness there was unbearable. Where the mate bond had briefly lived, there was now just a hollow, aching void. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would the moon goddess mate me to someone who'd reject me?" Margaret squeezed her hand but had no answer. The following weeks were torture. Arya tried to leave the pack, to start fresh somewhere else, but Damien refused her request. Pack law stated that unmated wolves needed alpha permission to leave, and he denied her every time. "You'll stay and serve," he'd said coldly during their one meeting. "Consider it punishment for wasting my time with this false bond." False bond? The mate bond was never false. It was sacred, divine. He was the one who'd rejected the moon goddess's gift. But Arya had no power, no voice, no choice. Then came the ultimate humiliation. 2 months after her rejection, Damien announced his engagement to Selene Ravencrest, daughter of the powerful Alpha Supreme of the Northern Territories. She was everything Arya wasn't. Tall, beautiful, confident, and powerful. Her wolf was legendary, a silver beast that commanded respect. The wedding would be the grandest event in pack history, and Damien specifically requested that Arya serve at the ceremony. "I want everyone to see the difference between a true Luna and an Omega pretender," he told his beta, loud enough for Arya to hear. The night before the wedding, Arya stood in the empty pack hall, staring at the decorations. White roses everywhere, crystal chandeliers sparkling, golden chairs arranged in perfect rows. Tomorrow, she'd watch her mate marry another woman. Tomorrow, she'd serve them drinks and food while her heart bled. Why are you still here? Arya spun around. Celine stood in the doorway, radiant in a silver dress, her long black hair cascading down her back. I was just checking the arrangements, Miss Ravencrest. I'll leave. You're the rejected mate. Celine walked closer, circling Arya like a predator. The wolfless Omega who thought she could be Luna. Arya kept her eyes down. I never thought I was good enough. The mate bond chose, not me. The mate bond. Celine laughed, sharp and cruel. Do you know why Damien rejected you so quickly? Arya shook her head. Because I was already pregnant with his child. The words hit like a slap. Arya's eyes snapped up. Celine smiled, her hand resting on her flat stomach. We've been together for over a year. When he felt the bond with you, he panicked. Couldn't let some weak Omega ruin his plans for a powerful alliance. So he rejected you before the bond could fully form. Tears burned Arya's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not in front of this woman. Tomorrow, Celine continued, you'll watch us marry. You'll watch me become Luna, and you'll know that you never stood a chance. Damien chose me before he ever met you. She left, her laughter echoing through the hall. Arya collapsed onto the floor, finally letting the sobs come. The pain, the humiliation, the complete destruction of her worth. It was too much. She couldn't do this anymore. She couldn't survive this. Child, your tears are wasted on those who cannot see your light. Arya's head jerked up. An old woman stood near the altar, appearing out of nowhere. She wore robes of deep purple, and her eyes glowed with an otherworldly silver light. Who are you? Arya scrambled to her feet. Someone who's been searching for you for 21 years. The woman moved closer, her gaze intense. Tell me, Arya Winters, do you truly believe you're wolfless? The secret bloodline. Arya stared at the strange woman. I've never shifted. Never felt my wolf except for brief moments during the mate bond. Everyone says I'm defective. Not defective. Dormant. The woman's hand shot out, pressing against Arya's chest. Heat exploded through her body. There are wolves and then there are wolves. Your bloodline doesn't produce ordinary creatures, child. It produces legends. Images flooded Arya's mind. A beautiful woman with hair like starlight, fighting alongside massive wolves. The same woman holding a baby, tears streaming down her face. A battle. Blood. Sacrifice. My mother, Arya gasped. She'd been told her parents died when she was an infant, that she was found abandoned near the pack borders. Lina Moonshadow, the woman confirmed. The last Luna Supreme before you. She died protecting you, hiding you from those who would have killed you as a baby. Luna Supreme? That's just a legend. Is it? The woman's eyes flashed. Once every 1,000 years, the moon goddess blesses a female wolf with ultimate power. That wolf becomes Luna Supreme, able to command all alphas, unite all packs, and protect the supernatural world from threats beyond imagining. Your mother was the last. You are the next. Arya shook her head, backing away. No. You're wrong. I'm weak, wolfless. You're suppressed. The woman's voice boomed through the hall. Your mother's dying spell locked away your power to keep you safe. But you've now reached maturity. The spell is breaking. Can't you feel it? Now that she mentioned it, Arya had been feeling strange. Stronger. Her senses sharper. She'd attributed it to grief, but maybe... Why now? Why tell me this now? Because tomorrow, when you witness that mockery of a ceremony, your emotional state will trigger the full awakening. Your power will explode outward, likely killing everyone in the hall. Unless you come with me tonight and learn to control it. I don't believe you. The woman sighed. Then believe this. She held out her hand, and suddenly a wolf appeared beside her. Not a normal wolf. This creature was enormous, made of pure silver light, with eyes that held ancient wisdom. Arya's breath caught. That's your mother's spirit wolf. She's been watching over you, waiting for this moment. The light wolf moved forward, nuzzling against Arya's hand. Warmth flooded through her, and with it, a sense of rightness she'd never felt before. Memories that weren't her own filled her mind. Her mother's love, her sacrifice, the truth of Arya's heritage. The rejection, Arya whispered. Damien rejecting me. It wasn't wrong. It was meant to happen. The moon goddess doesn't make mistakes, child. Damien Blackthorn isn't your true mate. The bond you felt was merely a test, a catalyst to awaken your power. Your real destiny is far greater than being some alpha's Luna. The spirit wolf faded, but the warmth remained. What do I do? Arya asked. You leave tonight. Come with me to the Council of Ancients. Train. Learn who you really are. Then, when you're ready, you return and take your rightful place as Luna Supreme. And Damien? Selene? This pack that's tormented me? The woman's smile was sharp. They'll learn that rejecting you was the biggest mistake of their lives. But your revenge won't be what you think. True power doesn't need petty vengeance. True power simply exists, and others bow before it. The escape plan. Arya had 2 hours to prepare. The woman, who introduced herself as Elder Thorn of the Ancient Council, waited in the forest while Arya returned to her tiny room in the pack house basement. She owned almost nothing. A few clothes, a photo of people she'd been told were her parents. Now she knew the woman was truly her mother, and a silver necklace she'd always worn. Looking at it now with new understanding, she recognized the symbol, the triple moon, mark of the Luna Supreme. You've always known, she whispered to herself. Deep down, some part of you always knew you were different. A knock on her door made her freeze. Arya? You in there? Finn, the beta's son, and the closest thing she had to a friend in this pack. She opened the door cautiously. Finn stood there with a concerned expression, his kind brown eyes studying her face. You've been crying. Is it about tomorrow? Finn, She couldn't tell him the truth. I just need to get away for a while. From the wedding? Can't say I blame you. What Damien's doing, making you serve? It's cruel. Finn stepped inside, closing the door. Listen, I overheard something today. Selene's father is planning something. There's going to be an attack during the ceremony. Arya's blood ran cold. What kind of attack? I don't know details, but Alpha Ravencrest wants to take over Silvermoon Pack. The wedding is a trap. He's going to kill Damien and claim leadership. Despite everything, Arya's first instinct was to warn Damien. The mate bond might be broken, but some part of her still felt protective. No, he rejected you. Let him face the consequences. But innocent pack members would die too. Children, elders, people who'd never been cruel to her. You need to warn the Alpha, she told Finn. Me? He doesn't listen to beta wolves, especially not about his precious Selene's family. Finn grabbed her shoulders. But that's not why I came. Arya, you need to leave tonight. If there's an attack tomorrow, chaos will erupt. Use it to escape. Start fresh somewhere. He was giving her the perfect cover story without even knowing it. Thank you, she whispered, hugging him, for being kind when no one else was. Hey, where's this coming from? You sound like you're saying goodbye. Maybe I am. She pulled back. Finn, promise me something. When everything changes tomorrow, remember that I never wanted anyone to get hurt. Confusion clouded his features. What are you talking about? Just promise. Okay, I promise. But Arya, I have to go. Please warn whoever you can about the attack. Save as many as possible. She grabbed her small bag and pushed past him, heading for the back stairs. Arya, wait! But she was already running. The transformation begins. Elder Thorn waited exactly where she'd promised, at the old oak tree marking the eastern border. As Arya approached, she felt it. The invisible barrier that kept pack members confined. She'd never been able to cross it before without permission. But now, as her foot touched the boundary line, something inside her surged. Power, ancient and overwhelming, rose from deep within her core. The barrier didn't just let her through. It shattered completely, years of magical construction dissolving in an instant.
Impossible, elle détorne Breted.
You're not even trained yet, and you just destroyed an alpha-level boundary ward like it was paper. Arya stared at her hands. They glowed with soft silver light. What's happening to me? Your power is awakening faster than expected. The emotional trauma of these past months has been building pressure. You're like a dam about to burst. Elder Thorn grabbed her arm. We need to move quickly. Can you run? I think so. Then run like your life depends on it, because it does. Your power signature is broadcasting now. Every supernatural creature within 50 miles will feel it. Some will want to help you. Others will want to capture or kill you before you reach your full potential. They ran. Arya had never been athletic. As an Omega, she'd always been weak, slow, clumsy. But now her legs ate up the distance effortlessly. Trees blurred past. The wind whipped her hair back. She felt wild, free, alive. A howl echoed behind them. Then another. And another. Rogues! Elder Thorn panted. They're hunting us. How many? At least a dozen. We can't outrun them all. Arya's mind raced. She'd never fought anyone in her life. Never even thrown a punch. How was she supposed to face a dozen rogue wolves? But as the first massive beast burst from the trees, fangs bared and eyes wild, something primal awakened inside her. Her wolf. Not the quiet, dormant presence she'd occasionally felt. This was a force of nature, a creature of pure power and rage, demanding to be released after 21 years of imprisonment. Let me out! The voice growled in her mind, feminine and ancient. Let me show them what happens when they threaten a Luna Supreme. I don't know how. Arya screamed as the rogue leaped at her throat. Shift! The command came from both Elder Thorn and her inner wolf simultaneously. Arya's body obeyed instinctively. Bones cracked and reformed. Muscle tore and rebuilt. Pain and ecstasy merged into something indescribable. And then she was standing on 4 legs instead of 2. The rogue that had been mid-leap froze in the air, then crashed to the ground, whimpering. The other wolves that had been charging stopped dead, falling to their bellies in submission. Elder Thorn's jaw dropped. By the goddess! Arya looked down at herself and understood their shock. She wasn't a normal wolf. She was enormous, easily twice the size of the rogues. Her fur glowed with silver-white light, like moonbeams made solid. And on her forehead, visible even in wolf form, was the triple moon mark burning with divine fire. The prophecy, Elder Thorn whispered. The Luna Supreme shall shine with the light of 3 moons. It's true. It's all true. One of the rogues, braver or more foolish than the others, tried to run. Arya's wolf moved without conscious thought, a blur of silver light. She pinned the creature effortlessly, her jaws at its throat. Submit or die, her wolf growled. The words somehow clear despite being in animal form. The rogue whimpered, exposing its throat in ultimate submission. Arya released it and turned to face the others. Go. Tell every rogue, every pack, every supernatural creature you meet. The Luna Supreme has awakened. The old ways are returning. And anyone who threatens the innocent will answer to me. The rogues fled, their terrified howls echoing through the forest. Arya shifted back to human form, surprised that her clothes remained intact. Apparently another benefit of her bloodline. She felt strong, powerful, complete for the first time in her life. How do you feel? Elder Thorn asked carefully. Arya looked back towards Silvermoon territory, thinking of Damien, of Selene, of tomorrow's wedding and the planned attack. Part of her wanted to return, to warn them, to save them despite everything. But a larger part, the part connected to her destiny, knew the truth. She couldn't save people who didn't want to be saved. She couldn't force Damien to see her worth. She couldn't stop Selene's father's treachery. All she could do was become who she was meant to be. I feel like I've been asleep my whole life, Arya said quietly. And I just woke up. Elder Thorn smiled. Then welcome to your awakening, Luna Supreme. Your real journey starts now. As they disappeared into the forest, Heading toward the hidden sanctuary of the ancient council, Arya felt the first stirrings of something new. Not the desperate, painful love she'd felt through the mate bond. Not the shame and worthlessness of rejection. This was purpose. This was power. This was destiny. And somewhere in the back of her mind, her wolf whispered a promise. When we return, they'll all see what they lost. Not because we need their validation, but because we'll shine so bright, they'll have no choice but to look. Arya smiled in the darkness. Let the transformation begin. Rising from the ashes. The hidden sanctuary. The journey to the Council of Ancients took 3 days. Arya and Elder Thorn traveled through hidden paths that existed between worlds, magical passages that only those with ancient knowledge could access. Each step took them further from everything Arya had known and closer to a destiny she was only beginning to understand. On the 3rd night they arrived. The sanctuary appeared as they crossed through a waterfall. One moment, Arya was walking through rushing water. The next, she stood in a valley that shouldn't exist. Mountains surrounded them on all sides, their peaks touching the clouds. But this wasn't a normal valley. The sky held 3 moons, silver, gold, and crimson, casting an otherworldly glow across everything. "Welcome to Lunaris," Elder Thorn said softly. "The last refuge of the old magic. This place exists outside of time, hidden from the modern world. Here, the ancient ways are still practiced. Here, you'll learn what you truly are." Buildings carved from white stone dotted the valley, their architecture both elegant and ancient. Wolves moved between structures, but these weren't ordinary pack wolves. Arya could sense the power radiating from each one. These were the strongest, the oldest, the most legendary of their kind. And they were all staring at her. "Is that really her?" someone whispered. "The mark on her forehead. The triple moon. The prophecy is fulfilled." Arya's hand unconsciously went to her forehead. She couldn't feel anything different, but apparently, others could see the mark that identified her as Luna Supreme. A massive building stood at the valley's center, a temple carved with symbols that seemed to shift and move in the moonlight. The doors opened, and 5 figures emerged. The Council of Ancients. Each one radiated power that made Arya's knees weak. They were old, not just in years but in essence. These beings had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, had guided the supernatural world through countless crises. The center figure stepped forward, a woman who appeared middle-aged but whose eyes held millennia of wisdom. Her silver hair flowed like liquid moonlight, and her presence commanded absolute respect. Arya Moonshadow. The woman's voice echoed across the valley. "Daughter of Lyana, heir to the Luna Supreme bloodline. We have waited 21 years for this moment. I am Celestia, High Elder of this council. Welcome home." Home. The word hit Arya like a physical blow. She'd never had a real home, never belonged anywhere. Could this place, this impossible magical valley, truly be where she was meant to be? "I don't understand," Arya said, her voice small despite the power thrumming through her veins. "Why me? Why now? My mother, she was Luna Supreme. Why didn't she stop whatever threat required her death?" Celestia's expression softened with old grief. "Come, child. There is much you need to know, and the learning must begin tonight. Your awakening has already attracted attention from forces both light and dark. We have little time to prepare you for what's coming." Truth unveiled. Inside the temple, Arya sat before the council in a circular chamber. The ceiling opened to the 3 moons above, their light converging on a pool of water at the room's center. As Celestia began to speak, images formed in the water, showing Arya the truth of her past. 21 years ago, your mother, Lyana Moonshadow, was the most powerful Luna Supreme in recorded history. She united the packs, ended the wars between supernatural factions, and brought peace to our world. Celestia gestured to the water, and Arya saw her mother, beautiful, strong, commanding armies of wolves with just her presence. But there was a darkness growing, an ancient evil called the Void. It existed before our kind, before the moon goddess herself created us. The Void seeks to consume all life, all light, all magic. Every 1,000 years it grows strong enough to threaten our world. And every 1,000 years, a Luna Supreme is born to stop it. The images shifted, showing a creeping black shadow that devoured everything it touched. Wolves, humans, even the land itself turned to ash in its wake. Your mother fought the void. She battled for 7 days and 7 nights, using every ounce of her power. She managed to seal it away, but the effort, it cost her everything. She knew she was dying. Arya watched as her mother, wounded and exhausted, held a baby, held her. But Lyanna also knew something else. She'd seen a prophecy, a vision from the moon goddess herself. The void would return stronger than before, and only her daughter, you Arya, would have the power to destroy it permanently. Not just seal it, but end it forever. Why? Arya whispered. What makes me different from her? Another council member spoke, an elderly man with kind eyes. Because you carry something your mother didn't. You were born under the convergence of 3 moons, a cosmic event that happens once every 10,000 years. That convergence blessed you with triple the power of any previous Luna Supreme. But such power in an infant would have been unstable, uncontrollable. So your mother cast a binding spell. The images showed Lyanna performing a ritual, tears streaming down her face as she placed protective magic over baby Arya. She locked away your power, suppressed your wolf, made you appear weak and ordinary. Then she gave you to a trusted friend to hide you in a normal pack, where you'd be safe from those who would have killed you before you could mature. She died completing the spell, using her last breath to protect you. Arya's own tears fell freely now. Her mother had sacrificed everything. Her power, her life, her chance to raise her daughter, all to give Arya a future. The Silver Moon Pack, Arya realized. They weren't my real family? No, Celestia confirmed gently. Your mother's friend was supposed to raise you, teach you about your heritage when you came of age. But she died in a rogue attack when you were 5. With no one to explain your origins, you grew up believing you were just an orphaned Omega. And the mate bond with Alpha Damien? Was that real? Celestia's expression turned thoughtful. Mate bonds are complex, especially for someone of your power. What you felt wasn't a true destined mate bond. It was an echo, a shadow. Your power was beginning to wake, and it reached out, seeking connection. Damien was the strongest alpha nearby, so your emerging magic latched onto him, creating a false bond. The relief Arya felt was overwhelming. She hadn't been rejected by her true mate. There was no destiny torn apart. It had been a mistake, a side effect of her awakening. So I still have a true mate somewhere? She asked. The council members exchanged glances. That, Celestia said carefully, is complicated. You see, Luna Supremes rarely have fated mates in the traditional sense. Your destiny is too large, your purpose too important to be tied to one individual. However, Arya pressed. The prophecy speaks of a guardian, a wolf of equal power who will stand beside you when you face the void. Some interpret this as a mate, others as simply an ally. We don't know which is true. Arya absorbed this information. Part of her mourned the idea of never having what other wolves took for granted, that perfect, destined partner. But a larger part felt freed. She wasn't defined by being someone's mate. Her worth wasn't tied to being chosen. She was choosing herself. When does the void return? She asked. Celestia's face grew grim. Soon. We've detected disturbances in the magical barriers your mother created. The seals are weakening. We estimate you have 6 months, perhaps less, before it breaks free completely. 6 months. 6 months to learn to control power she'd only just discovered. 6 months to become strong enough to face an ancient evil that nearly killed her legendary mother. Then we'd better start training, Arya said, steel entering her voice. Celestia smiled. Spoken like a true Luna Supreme. Your training begins at dawn. Training montage. The next 3 months were the hardest of Arya's life. Dawn came early in Lunaris, announced by the rising of all 3 moons in sequence. Each morning, Arya woke sore, exhausted, pushed beyond every limit she thought she had. And each morning, she got up and pushed further. Her first instructor was Marcus, a grizzled warrior who'd trained Luna Supremes for 3 generations. He was merciless. Again! He barked as Arya struggled through her 100th sword form. A Luna Supreme must be perfect in combat. You'll face enemies who've trained for centuries. You can't afford weakness. Sweat poured down Arya's face. Her arms screamed in protest. But she completed the form, then moved to the next. Physical training was just the beginning. She learned strategy, history, politics. She studied the weaknesses of every supernatural creature. She memorized the intricate dance of pack hierarchy and how to command alphas who wouldn't naturally submit to anyone. You cannot rule through fear alone, Celestia taught her during afternoon sessions. True power comes from being worthy of respect. An alpha follows you because they trust your judgment, because they believe in your vision. But the most challenging training was magical. Elder Thorn worked with Arya every evening, helping her access and control the vast power sleeping inside her. At first, it was like trying to hold water in her hands. The magic would slip away, wild and uncontrollable. Feel it. Don't force it, Elder Thorn instructed as Arya tried to levitate a stone. Your power is part of you, not separate. It responds to your will, but you must be clear, focused, centered. Arya took a deep breath and tried again. This time, the stone rose smoothly into the air. Good. Now hold it steady and move it. The stone wobbled, then shot across the room, crashing into the wall. Better, Elder Thorn said dryly. At least you didn't set anything on fire this time. Slowly, painfully, Arya improved. She learned to shift at will, to communicate telepathically, to sense other wolves from miles away. She discovered she could heal injuries with a touch, create protective barriers, and enhance the powers of those around her. One night, during a full moon ceremony, she managed something no one expected. The council had gathered to assess her progress, to see if she could handle the sacred moon ritual, a test every Luna Supreme had to pass. The ritual required channeling all 3 moons' energy simultaneously, a feat that typically took years to master. Arya stood in the center of the temple, moonlight streaming down on her from 3 angles. Focus, Celestia called out. Feel each moon's unique energy. Silver for wisdom, gold for strength, crimson for passion. Draw them in, balance them, unite them. Arya closed her eyes and reached out with her senses. The silver moon felt cool and knowing, ancient wisdom flowing like ice water. The gold moon burned hot with power, raw strength that could move mountains. The crimson moon pulsed with emotion, life, fierce protective love. She drew all 3 into herself. Pain exploded through her body. Too much, too fast. The energies clashed, fighting for dominance. She gasped, falling to her knees. You can do this. Elder Thorn's voice cut through the chaos. You're Luna Supreme. This is your birthright. Arya gritted her teeth. She thought of her mother, sacrificing everything to give her this chance. She thought of every cruel word spoken by Damien, every moment of feeling worthless and weak. She thought of the void, the darkness threatening to consume everything. No more running, she growled. No more hiding. She forced the 3 energies to harmonize, using her will as the binding force. Silver, gold, and crimson merged, swirling around her in a spectacular display of light. The power filled her completely, overflowing, radiating outward. When she opened her eyes, they glowed with triple moon light. Her hair floated as if underwater, shimmering with all 3 colors. Marks appeared on her skin, ancient runes of power that proclaimed her status to anyone who could see. The council members knelt as one. Hail Luna Supreme, they said in unison. 3 moon blessed, void breaker, destined guardian of all. Arya stood in the center of that circle, power thrumming through every cell of her body, and finally understood. She wasn't the weak, rejected Omega anymore. She never had been. She was always meant for this. New allies. As word of Arya's training spread, Wolves from across the supernatural world began arriving at Linares, seeking audience with the new Luna Supreme. Some came out of loyalty to her mother's memory. Others came because prophecy demanded it. And some came simply because they recognized true power when they felt it. Aria's first major ally arrived on a stormy night. Alpha Kirin of the Stormfang pack was legendary. A massive wolf with black fur streaked with silver, scars covering his body from countless battles. His pack controlled the northern territories, and his reputation for ruthlessness was well known. He bowed to no one, until he met Arya. She was training in the courtyard when he arrived, practicing combat forms against 3 opponents simultaneously. Marcus had insisted she learn to fight multiple enemies at once. Kirin watched from the shadows, assessing. When she finished, taking down all 3 opponents with moves that would have made seasoned warriors proud, he stepped forward. Impressive. His voice was deep, commanding. For a girl who was supposedly wolfless 3 months ago, Arya turned and immediately recognized him from her studies. Alpha Kirin, I'm honored by your visit.